anymore.
Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and drop that there and let it go. But we're back, and NCAAs are on this year. I'm super excited, and we're gonna bring our guest for today, Anthony Valencia. Just won the Pac-12 championships a couple weeks back. Anthony, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you guys doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I feel like I've been chatting with you for over a decade, probably going back to youth tournaments in California and the Freak Show and whatnot. And it's been a joy to watch you compete and grow throughout all these years. How'd you feel? Let's just start with the Pac-12s 2 weeks ago. How did you feel about not just winning, but your performance and a great showing over Griffith in the finals?
I felt great. I mean, I feel like our team is peaking at the right time, and we're ready to go going into the NCAA tournament.
Fantastic. I guess since we mentioned, it's just been about 1 year. I think a couple days from now will be like the actual day that they canceled the NCAA championships. So, I mean, thinking back to a year ago, what do you remember from like the week of and or the day of NCAAs getting canceled, where you were, who told you, how the team reacted, or if you were with the team? But yeah, it's kind of I'm sure it's kind of burned into your memory if I'm guessing.
Yeah, we were actually getting a lift in, um, and we were watching like the news on the big screen TV, and we saw things weren't going so well. Other sports were getting shut down, and yeah, we were just pretty bummed out when it happened, especially our seniors. I still knew I had another year, so I was okay. I mean, I still felt like I was ready to go in there and win it last year. We were peaking at the right time as well, but it happened to all of us. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, pretty crappy situation. How did you handle, or what did you do? It's canceled, right? Do you finish the lift? Do you drop the weights and walk away? You can't go back in the room probably. What'd you do right initially, and then I don't know, in the coming days and weeks?
Well, we finished the lift until we knew it was for sure. I had already been home when I found out it was 100% canceled. I remember talking to the coaches, being like, "Is this for real? Like, are we done for this season?" They're like, "Yeah." So, I mean, I didn't really do much afterwards. Just I was just processing the whole thing.
Yeah. Did you I don't know if you cut a lot of weight or if it's not bad for you, but did you run out and get some fast food or some junk food or something that you'd been not been able to enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, last year I wasn't cutting so much weight. I was probably cutting like 2 pounds.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure I got up and got a meal, but it wasn't like I was really wanting to eat.
Sure. Yeah, and I could see how you would actually lose your appetite in a moment like that.
Yeah.
How did you spend the spring and summer? I would imagine you couldn't get into Arizona State's room. Did you stay in Arizona? Did you go back to California? Kind of where were you?
Yeah, I mean, I stayed in Arizona probably for another month. Um, I was still trying to get some training in, like I was running and doing my own workouts at the house, but then I just felt like it wasn't enough, and it's pretty hard to stay disciplined on your own. I like having like the coaches on me telling me things to do. So what I did was I called my dad and I told him, "Hey, can I go home for a while?" And he's got the whole monster garage at the house. We got wrestling mats and everything. So that's what I did. I was actually home the whole summer training. So I definitely kept getting my work in and stayed in shape.
Awesome. And I know that was probably a challenge for some people. Um, I guess you mentioned Monster Garage, so let's kind of rewind. And how old were you when you got involved in wrestling? When I met you, you and Zahid and your dad was all around. You guys were like all in, 100%. And I don't know if you were 10 years old or something like that, but um, how old were you when you did get involved in wrestling, and why? I don't know if your dad actually did wrestle, or did he?
Yeah, no, he didn't wrestle. My uncle wrestled when he was in high school, and my dad just fell in love with the sport watching him wrestle. So he knew that when he had kids, he was going to put us into wrestling. Um, yeah, I mean, we started when we were like, I was 3 years old. Saeed was two. We went into this Terminators club and just started rolling around. We didn't know much, but but yeah, we just rolled around and got used to smelling the mat, being in the environment, and then we took it to another level probably when I was 5.
Wow. Your dad puts you at 3 years old or whatever into wrestling. And it's interesting, like it's just like being around it, smelling the mat, feeling the environment. What did you like about wrestling at a young age?
So I don't really remember the first practice that I had. I was so young. So it's kind of like I was just born into wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, but I do remember loving to win. And that was actually one of my dad's goals. He would tell my mom, is like, I have to get them good so that they start winning, so that they love the sport. Because nobody likes to be involved in the sport that they're not good at. So he made sure we got really good and got our hand raised, and we fell in love with it.
And if you say like I don't remember my first practice or maybe the early days of your wrestling career, when you think back, what is the first thing you remember? What are the first things that you remember from your wrestling?
Um, I mean, I mostly just remember local tournaments here and there. They were called Kagwa tournaments. We would enter those. I remember our first big tournament was Tulsa kickoffs, and I think I was like 7 years old when I first entered that tournament. And that's when it really got exciting. We started off in freestyle because all the tournaments were freestyle for some reason. Um, but then that was our first folk style national tournament, and we just loved to travel, and it was fun for us to stay in a hotel room that was on you, and yeah.
Absolutely. When did Monster Garage come around? And explain what Monster Garage was, and I guess still is, but to anybody who might not know.
Yeah, so Monster Garage is just our backyard, our garage in there. My dad decided to roll out mats and pad the walls and just get serious in there. We had different groups of people coming in, like Aaron Pico and Kate Olivas, and we just go in there and start training really hard. And you got dads yelling at us, cussing us out, making sure we're working hard. Give up a takedown, we're in trouble. We have a bad night if we lose takedowns. But also if we had good practices, my dad would reward us. As kids, he would take us to Toys R Us and get us a toy. So it's something that we looked forward to. Um, but yeah, that's how we really got good. It was just tough practices, making sure that we became tough wrestlers before the technique. Because as kids, it's all about who's tougher more than it is technique.
Yeah. How instrumental do you think those early practices were and those tough practices were into shaping you into having the level of toughness it takes to win 3 state titles and to wrestle at the D1 level and internationally and everything else?
I thought it was good that my dad brought in different guys. Some of them were smaller than us and not better than us. Some of them were equivalent to our level, and then another group he'd bring in, and they were a lot better than us, and they would just beat us up. So on the days when we had the wrestlers weren't so good, we would kind of just work on our moves and try to get better technically. Then the guys we were even with, our goal was to beat them, and then the guys that were better than us, our goal was to eventually get to their level and start beating them, and then we move on to another group.
I love that. The like the 3 tiers, right? Is that like,
Yeah.
did your dad explain that to you? Hey, this is how we're going to do it. You could ragdoll these guys, but just practice your moves, and the even guys wrestle hard and try to catch them. Is that like laid out to you at an
Yeah,
early age?
yeah. My dad would share everything to us, like our whole practice schedule, what he's planning, and he would tell us, to make sure like we were okay in a way with the schedule, but not really. It wasn't really our decision. But yeah, he would let us know how practices are going to be like and what our schedule and routine would be.
You said that, when you were as a kid, you were focused on toughness. It's about getting tougher. And then technique maybe came later. When do you remember focusing maybe more on developing that technique, and how did that happen? Was your dad bringing in people to show technique, or what was the process of becoming more technical?
Yeah, my dad would bring in different coaches, just to learn more technique and improve on our skills. I remember we had Coach Nate Parker for a while. He was like one of our main coaches at Monster Garage, and he would show us, everything he learned throughout his years, his college years, and that was really good. That's where we really improved a lot. I remember we were learning like a sit out turn in, and Coach Nate Parker had us drill like the first step of a sit out, and it's just like we put our hands down and move one arm across the other, and we did that a whole practice. So just hands down, hand over the other, hand over the other. We did nothing but that the whole practice. At first, my dad was frustrated. It's like, dude, that's not really a move. We're not really doing anything. But we ended up mastering that one move, and when we entered tournaments, we would get out in seconds.
That's great. Was it ever challenging, like, to stay motivated, to keep at it? Was it ever like mentally difficult to stay so tough?
I mean, it was, but as kids, we didn't have much of a choice. My dad told us to get up. We had practice, and we would get up and practice.
Yeah.
But like I said, the winning felt so good that we enjoyed the process. So practices were hard. My dad in there being super strict and hard on us, but the reward was worth it.
Sure. You and Zahid were in there. Like, how consistent were the other guys? I know you mentioned Pico and Cato Levis. Was it you four? Was there other kids, or how many kids like made up Monster Garage versus the kids that were just bringing in for y'all to train with?
Yeah, I mean, there were several kids, but the main four were me, Saeed, Aaron Pico, and Cato Levis. That was the main four. Those guys were always in there training with us and the most committed. Like, we didn't really miss practices. Obviously, me and Saeed couldn't miss practices. Yeah, but I would say it was us four that were really the ones that were committed to the training.
And to the fact, like, me and he couldn't miss practice. Obviously, it's at our house and in our garage. I'm just trying to picture the battles between the two of you from 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 years old. What were those like? How often? And I had brothers. I know how this works. Like, how often did you end up punching each other or getting into it, or hating each other, but maybe at the end you hug and make up, or maybe at the end you don't talk to each other for a week? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely threw a lot of punches at each other. We fought a lot. My dad would actually let us continue fighting. So if we start fighting and throwing punches, my dad wouldn't stop it. He just let it keep going. And usually the guy that started crying first, that was the guy that was in trouble. So, yeah, so he's like, yeah, you better not cry. Hit him back, stuff like that.
Oh, man. That's too funny. When you went to tournaments, was basically your dad in your corner, or would a guy like Nate Parker come to tournaments with you guys and coach you?
It was mostly my dad, but Nate Parker would also be there at a lot of the tournaments. My dad usually would yell out in Spanish our moves, like telling us what to do in Spanish, so like the other corner wouldn't understand what we're doing. Yeah, so we had a lot of moves in Spanish that my dad would yell out. Okay. That worked out for us.
I bet. At what point, or not at what point necessarily, but when you were younger, were you looking like ahead, like, hey, I wanna go to high school and be a state champion, and maybe one day I want to wrestle in college, or maybe like, were your eyes on and Worlds and Olympics? Were your eyes on those things from a young age, or was it like, hey, I'm just trying to win these local tournaments. Maybe I'm trying to win Reno or a Tulsa.
Yeah, our eyes were always on the big prize. We had our goals set up since we were young. My dad would have us make vision boards and dream boards. about what we wanted to do with wrestling, and obviously Olympics were at the top. But he would also take us to the high school state tournament in California, and yeah, we'd watch everybody wrestle. We'd see the spotlight in the finals, and we would get really excited about that. We always dreamed about being 4-time state champs, and yeah, we would just get motivated and excited about that. That's what got us to work a lot.
Yeah. When you finally did get into high school, how prepared were you to have success right away?
We were really prepared. Actually, my dad would bump us up divisions when we were in junior high, so that we start competing against guys that we would be competing against in high school. So yeah, I mean, I remember my dad actually forged Zahid's birth certificate 1 year to wrestle, to start wrestling early. Yeah, because I was 5 years old, so I was able to start, entering in tournaments. But he felt that Zahid was ready to wrestle as well, but couldn't because he was too young. So he forged his birth certificate so that he could wrestle.
Wow. So you guys were wrestling.
And yeah, we were doing.
Go ahead.
Well, we were doing that ever since we were really young when we started wrestling.
Yeah, I was gonna say because when you were in high school, you were wrestling in senior level tournaments. So that's just been the point behind that's just to get you prepared for when you're there to be ready for it.
Yep.
Okay. So you get to high school. Goal, I assume, is to be a 4-time state champ. You win 3. What year was it? Your freshman year that you didn't win?
It was my sophomore year.
Okay. So
Yeah,
tell
I
me about
lost in
that
the
sophomore
finals.
tournament and what it was like.
So the whole season I was wrestling at 138, and I had pretty much walked through the whole competition. I was number 1 in the state. I think the number 2 guy, I ended up attacking him at Doc B. So heading towards the end of the season, I kind of wanted a challenge. So I bumped up to 145s, and I wrestled Christian Pagaleo in the finals of the state tournament. I had beaten him the week before at the qualifier tournament, but at the state tournament he ended up getting me 5-3, and that was actually pretty devastating. But that's also the reason why I turned it up another level, and I think the following year that's when I made the junior world team.
Man, like you win it as a freshman, sophomore, you steamrolled everybody. Most kids would say, "I'll stay right here. It's safe. I'm gonna win." It seems like a no-brainer. Like, why the decision to go up and, I challenge yourself, but why the decision to go up and like put it on the line and risk not being a 4-time state champ?
Yeah, I mean, it's just how we've kind of grown up. We've always wanted the challenge. We don't think it's anything big to win a tournament with no competition. We're supposed to win, so it's not as exciting. So I wanted the excitement. I wanted to win big. Beat the number 1 guy at the upper weight class. That was the goal.
Kind of like a Vision Quest.
Yeah.
Great movie. And they said the next summer you made the junior world team. I guess, and you said early on you were wrestling freestyle because that's what the local tournaments were back then, and maybe now, right? Do you have a preference, freestyle versus folk style? Do you like one better than the other, or do you feel like you're better in one than the other?
I definitely like freestyle better. I also think I am better in freestyle. I think just the style works out better for me. But yeah, I mean, Olympics has always been the main goal, and that's freestyle. So yeah, I would say freestyle is my favorite.
Sure.
I want to ask another question while we're still talking about high school. You talked about at a young age developing like these dream boards and your goals, and it's like, Olympics, all this stuff. You were sharing some of those goals with your brother Zahid and also Aaron Pico, and then Pico, had a different goal than you guys, right? MMA, was a big goal for him. What was that like when you knew that Pico's goals were going to take him out of high school wrestling, and then now this guy that's been such a big part of your career he's got a different set of goals and he's going on a different path. What was that like for you?
I was definitely a little sad about it. I wanted him to still be a part of it and, win state titles and team titles with each other. But it was what he wanted to do, and I mean, it's a big thing and it was exciting. So yeah, we were really supportive about it, but a part of me did wish that he stayed wrestling with us.
Did you ever try to convince him, like, hey, like you could still wrestle at Bosco and like still pursue your goals? Did you guys ever try to talk him into staying on the team?
Yeah, Saeed and I definitely tried to convince him to stay a few times, but we didn't push it too hard. And Aaron would definitely think about it. There was times where he's like, "Man, I might just come back," But he had it like too good going into what he was doing, so he chose to stay with his path.
Yeah,
sure. Excuse me. On that point, thinking back to like you and Zahid fighting and your dad being like, "You cried first, you're in trouble." And now Pico's this world-class fighter. Was he ever in the mix with you guys, throwing down, scrapping, and kind of getting into some fisticuffs?
Oh yeah, we've definitely gotten in fights with each other. Me and Pico would throw each other into the bikes in hand fighting. We do hand fighting at the beginning of practice, and he would shoot a double leg, and I'd be like, "What the heck? Like we're hand fighting right now. You're not supposed to touch the legs." But I'd get back to the middle, and I do the same exact thing to him. Then he'd throw me into the bikes, and then I'd throw him into the bikes even harder. Things like that. But one thing that my dad did, he would make me and Saeed really jealous by saying how much of a stud Aaron Pico is. You guys should be more like him, type of stuff like that. And me and Saeed would team up with each other, and we're like, nah. Like when we go live, let's go in there and beat them up, So, and then that caused a lot of fights, but we were always cool after practice. We knew that was a practice thing.
Sweet, yeah. So you have all this high school success. You win the 3 titles, and you're second as a sophomore. At some point, and probably before you won your senior year, you start getting knocks on the door and phone calls and everything else. What was the recruiting process like for you? How many schools did you look at? Did you take official visits at a bunch of other schools? And eventually, why did you choose Arizona State? I know that's like 3 questions in one, but I'll let you run with it.
Yeah, I mean, we were all getting a lot of letters in the mail. I remember me and Saeed and Aaron Pico used to compete with each other to see who gets the most letters from schools. And we have like shoe boxes with all our letters in there. But yeah, me and Saeed liked Purdue for a little bit. We loved Coach Hinkle, and we were thinking about going there. Then Zeke Jones started his job at ASU, and Hinkle ended up leaving Purdue. So we just liked that. We liked Arizona because it was really, really close to home, and we just got a good coach that came in, the ex-Olympic head coach, and we thought that would be perfect for us. So that's why we committed to ASU. We didn't take a lot of visits. Our only visits were Purdue and Arizona State, and we went with Arizona State.
Yeah, pretty different campuses and locations of the country, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of nice ones. Even traveling to compete, we've seen a lot of nice campuses, and I mean, they're cool, but I feel like the real wrestling program and the environment, the weather, just fit perfectly at Arizona State.
Did you and Zahid always know you would go to the same program, or were there times when you thought you might go different places?
We always knew we were going to go to the same program, but there was a period of time where I was really interested in going to West Point. I would go online and check the school out. I thought it was really cool, but Saeed was not having that one. He didn't want to go there at all. So there was probably like a few months where we were both thinking of going to different schools, but but yeah, I mean that didn't last too long. We obviously wanted to stick together.
Sure. And in choosing Arizona State and being recruited by Zeke, what was his pitch to you? What did he say to you? Because if he had just come in, there's not a whole lot to show from what he had done, right? How did he sell the program to you guys?
He pretty much told us that we could be the first believers here at Arizona State to restart the program and make it good again and make wrestling good in the West Coast. So that got us really excited, and that's basically what me and Zahid did at our high school. St. John Bosco wasn't very good at wrestling before we got there, but we knew it was a good school, and my dad was going to be able to go in and coach the team a lot, and obviously we knew my dad's training was really good. So we did that there, and we got the program to grow there. So we thought it would be really cool to go to ASU and grow the program there as well.
And you guys obviously have grown the program, and I guess I want to point to the Penn State Duel last year and a half ago, back November of 19, I think. We all know what Penn State's done over the last decade, right? What was it like?
Yeah.
I am, and if this was a November duel, it's early, and I'm sure you guys all have it circled on the calendar, and it's at Arizona State. When did you guys start talking about that duel? Was it over the summer? Was it not until the week before? And what kind of things was? I gotta imagine coaches saying something to you guys like the believers. It's gonna happen, and I don't know. I'm curious when you see a result like that. You're like, wow, Arizona State just beat Penn State. It's not like it just happened the day of. I'm sure there's a lot that came into it leading up to that.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as Penn State was on our schedule that year, we were talking about that duel for a long time, looking forward to it, training for it. We were all really excited about it. The whole team was. So I mean, I believe we manifested that win. Um, we were dreaming about it, just envisioning that moment, and we put it into reality. That was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I guess just not match by match or anything, but just kind of give me a sense of what that duel felt like for you, and especially as it kind of came down to the line. And what was the crowd like? What was the atmosphere like? What do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest duel we've ever had. We had a lot of fans. It was loud in the arena. Coach Zeke had to actually tell a lot of us to calm down, save our energy for our matches. We were just super excited. But yeah, I mean, I think our whole team wrestled smart, and yeah, we got the win.
Yeah, pretty exciting. I guess fast forwarding to this year, what's this season been like from your perspective, starting in January, and how many times tested? I don't know how often you guys get tested, and just the protocol and the weirdness of this season. What's it been like from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been weird, but it's still another season regardless. It's a lot shorter, and we are getting tested every single day.
Every day.
Yeah, every morning.
Is it right here?
Yeah.
They jam it all the way up and they like tickle your brain. One of those.
We got like a saliva test and then one that we put on our nose for 10 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we still got to work. Early on, a few months before the season. I think ASU was like on top of every other program in the country as far as the training. It was one of the hardest cycles we've had since I've been here. I think we were more prepared this year than any other year, and a lot of us just had the right energy, the right mindset to get into it. We knew practice was going to be tough, but we were excited about it, and we were ready to go. We were anxious.
I mean, this has been obviously a strange year because of the coronavirus stuff, but also, you guys have a completely rebuilt coaching staff during the off season. What was that process like for you, when obviously Coach Pendleton gets a job at Oregon State, and then now there's this influx of new coaches. What was that like for you hearing, okay, this guy's getting hired, and all that stuff? What was that like?
I mean, I thought it was a really good change, and the more I got to know Coach Frank Molinaro and Coach Mark Perry, um, I mean, I love them. You know, they're great coaches, and I feel like my wrestling has gotten better having them in the room. So it was a good deal right there.
Do you work with either of those pretty closely? You know, a lot of times a wrestler has one or two coaches that they work with a lot. I'm curious if you do.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we all the coaches work with everybody,
Nice.
but yeah, I mean, Mark is in the RTC room a lot, so I don't see him every day, but I still work with him. Like before Pac-12s, we were working on my setups and stuff like that against my upcoming match with Shane Griffith, and yeah, we worked on it for a few hours, and I feel like that was a big step and big help for my win at Pac-12s.
Do you feel like do you like to prepare for certain individuals set up against this guy or whatever again, game planning for particular individuals?
Yeah, I mean, I don't game plan too much because I don't want to take away from my own style, but I feel like it's different in college than it is for high school. I feel like you have to game plan a little bit more in college because everybody's, a professional in college. So, so yeah, definitely a little bit of game planning, but still making sure that, I don't wrestle their game. I still wrestle my game.
Sure.
I just remembered that you know, obviously Mark Perry was really influential in Imar's career, and I remember him saying that your wins over Imar were the ones that like really motivated Imar, right? Like that he was training Imar to beat you. What's it like when, now a guy's coaching you who, like, it used to be his job to scout you, to beat you, and all of a sudden he's in your corner? Is that odd? Have you guys had any conversations about those matches, 6 years ago?
I mean, we haven't had a conversation about that, but I mean, I was just really excited when I heard he was coming because I know he's a great coach and I could see his results, like what he did for Imar. That was big, and I knew that he could help me a lot. Um, him coaching me.
Yeah. As we look ahead towards the NCAAs this year, there's going to be limited to no fans. And you've been to NCAAs in the past, right? I would imagine before you were in college you went, and you've certainly been
Yeah.
during college. Have you thought about what that might be like with no fans, and if you'll notice it, if it'll affect you, good or bad, or yeah?
I mean, I think this whole year has prepared us for no fans. We've gotten used to wrestling with no fans. The way I think about it is more people are watching online. So in my head, I still feel the fans, watching over our whole team. So it's still
Cool.
exciting for me. And NCAAs is NCAAs.
Yeah. You come in ranked third in the Flow Wrestling rankings. How much attention do you play, and Griffin's fourth, how much attention do you pay to, Mackay and Marinelli, and just not game planning, scouting necessarily, but being aware, right, of where they might like to wrestle and where you like to wrestle?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really scouting them as much, but I've watched, their matches here and there. I threw on the Big Ten, Big 12s, watched some of their matches there. I'm just more focusing on myself and focusing on being confident and believing. I feel like that was the biggest growth I've had this year. And, I'm just excited going into the NCAA tournament.
One other weird thing about this year is that the eligibility doesn't count against your eligibility. So you have the option, right? You could come back and compete another year if you want to. What are your thoughts on that? Have you made a decision about next year, or are you still waiting to decide later?
Yeah, I haven't decided on that yet. It's definitely something I'm thinking about. I think we could have an even better team next year if I stayed. So, it would be awesome, winning the NCAAs as a team. So it's definitely something I'm thinking about, but I'm still unsure.
Sure. Yeah, super stoked about the upcoming NCAAs. and we're just running about time. But I do want to get to one more segment game we like to play with all our guests. And it's called Wins and Whoopins. So from the time, I guess you were 3 until your last win at the Pac-12s, can you think of any match in your career, one win that stands out for whatever reason, just could be the best win of your career or a really memorable one for whatever reason, and can you think of the flip side, like one just everybody's taking a bad whooping at some point? So can you think of one whooping and one win that stand out from the span of your entire wrestling career? You can answer either one first.
Yeah, so I would say my favorite matches were when I made the junior world team and beat Aymar. I thought that was a big moment, going to Worlds, my first world competition. That was awesome. And then also the following year when I wrestled Tyler Caldwell for 3rd place at the U.S. Open. That was a big win for me. And I would say for the flip side, I don't have a certain match that I remember, but I did struggle, freshman, sophomore year of college a little bit. I wasn't, my nutrition wasn't the best. My sleep wasn't the best. The people I was around with wasn't the best. And I've definitely grown on that part, recently. And you can tell the difference. It's made a big change.
Sure. What did it take, you alluded to not having a great beginning to your college career. Was it something you noticed, or was it something that it took the coaches talking to you about nutrition, sleep, the people you're hanging around?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly a learning experience. I was, at the time I had a girlfriend that I was with. Probably wasn't the best relationship for me. So I struggled with that. I was staying up late. I was not eating right. I was so used to my parents, cooking my meals, the healthy meals, and then I get to college and I didn't cook as much and I was eating out a lot. And I didn't think it was going to affect me as much, but it did. And I noticed it. So it was, for me, I don't regret going through that because it's an experience and I learned through it. And I feel like I'm better now because of what I've learned. So yeah, I mean, it's all about just improving, learning from your experiences and overcoming it.
Sure. Like I said, I've been watching you wrestle for a long time, and when you're at your best, you're like damn near unstoppable. And I got to think a lot of that has to do with confidence, right? And when somebody's really confident, watch out. And when maybe they're not so confident, those other things can happen. You look great at Pac-12s. You look great all season. Where would you say your confidence level is right now heading into the NCAA Championships?
I mean, I've been dreaming about the Pac-12 title this whole season, every day, every night, and also doing the same thing for the NCAAs. I've already pictured it all in my head, and I'm pretty confident about it. Sometimes in my dreams it feels so real that I believe I've already won it. I'm just planning on traveling and picking up my trophy. That's the way I'm thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, on my ceiling right here, I have 2021 NCAA champ. It's the first thing I see when I wake up in the morning when I open my eyes, and it's the last thing I see before I go to bed when I close my eyes. So it's definitely in my head, and I'm constantly thinking about it. That's awesome. I believe, I'm going to make it a reality.
Heck yeah. I assume your bed's right behind you?
Yep.
Right, so yeah, wake up looking
right
at
here.
it. Man, that's awesome. Awesome, Anthony. Well, I'm sure excited to watch you wrestle at the NCAA Championships. Is there anything else you got for us? We'll give you the last word before we let you move on with your day.
I mean, no, not much else. Just I'm excited, and thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. All right, Anthony, we look forward to you wrestling out in St. Louis. Best of luck to you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, you
See
bet.
you, Anthony.
Have a great day. Yeah, Anthony Valencia, man, I'm picturing him and Zahid and little Cade and Pico just like,
Yeah.
banging it out in the garage.
Yeah, if people haven't watched that feature we did on
Monster Garage.
It's amazing stuff to hear all those guys' perspectives now on training that little room and just to look at it and see what they built kind of out of nothing, right?
Yeah. And then we didn't even get to the next generation. Kyle, his brother.
Yeah.
Was Monster Garage just a little bit behind, and man, he's got a bright future ahead of him as well.
For sure. Heading to Arizona State.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, David, you got anything else for us today?
Hey, the at-large bids come out for NCAA's today. Brackets drop tomorrow. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan.
It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. And maybe it's been announced. I don't know, but Russian Nationals, I think they announced. Russian Nationals live on FloWrestling this weekend. Talk about some of the best wrestling on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the toughest tournaments in the world. Probably top 3 toughest tournaments in the world.
I would agree.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for David Bray. I'm Mark Bader. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with Lou Roselli, coach of Oklahoma, co-champion of the Big 12 Championships. So, yeah, that's it. We'll see you then. Thanks, y'all.